Welcome, UCL fans, to the Week 4 review and rankings for the United Championship League. I am Nintendo Fanatic 64, and I have crunched the numbers, and I have come up with a fair and accurate rating system for the UCL. Now, I would always like to mention I am not affiliated with the UCL or any of its coaches, but if any of them are watching and are approving of it, please let me know in either the comment section below or giving this video a thumbs up. Now, before we get to the rankings, we're going to review all the matches that happened this week. Starting off, we have the New York Yankees entering in with a record of 1-2 this week, taking on the Newcastle Nidokings, also with a record of 1-2. And in a 4-0 victory went to the Newcastle Nidokings. MVP for Newcastle goes to Haxorus with 4 knockouts. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Pichus with a record of 2-2, taking on the Bronx Bearticks with a record of 3-0. And a 3-0 victory went to the Bronx Bearticks. MVP for Bronx goes to the Tornadoes T and Doug Trio, each with 2 knockouts. Up next, we have the St. Louis Rampardos with a record of 2-1, taking on the Carolina Keldios, also with a record of 2-1. And in a 3-0 victory went to the St. Louis Rampardos. The MVP to St. Louis goes to the Mega Metagross, who had 4 knockouts this week. Next up, we had the Toronto Togekiss with a record of 0-3, taking on the South Beach Slow Kings, also with a record of 0-3. And in a 2-0 victory, went to the Toronto Togekiss. MVP for Toronto goes to Darmanitan, who had 3 knockouts this week. Next up, we have the Bristol City Blazekins with a record of 2-1, taking on the Long Island Reggie-Rockies, also with a record of 2-1. We had a 3-0 victory go to the Long Island Reggie-Rockies, and the MVP for Long Island goes to Mega Manetric, who had 3 knockouts this week. Up next, we have the Grand Canyon Greninjas with a record of 1-2, taking on the Philadelphia Feraligators, also with a record of 1-2. And in a 3-0 victory goes to the Philadelphia Feraligators. MVP for Philadelphia goes to Snorlax, who had 3 knockouts this week. Up next, we have the Manchester Magnezones, who with a record of 0-3, taking on the Tulsa Talonflames with a record of 1-2. And in a 5-0 victory goes to Tulsa Talonflames. The MVP for Tulsa will go to Salamence, who had 3 knockouts this week. And then finally, we have the most controversial match in the UCL to date. The match came down to the timer, and it was the Tucson Terrakions with a record of 3-0, taking on the Durham Druddigons, also with a record of 3-0. And in a 3-2 victory, again it came down to the timer, went to the Tucson Terrakions. MVP for Tucson will go to Gastrodon, who outlasted the timer the longest. In addition to that, had 2 knockouts. Now, this match might have gone to the Durham Druddigons, however, a last-minute play of the Cresselia using Lunar Dance, knocking itself out but giving full health back to the Miltank, caused it to go from a 3-3 match to a 3-2 match. Had he not done that, there's a good chance he would have won in that favor. However, due to that last play, the victory went to the Terrakions. Alright, so those are the reviews of all 8 matches. Let's now get into the rankings. Now, the way it works is, in addition to the current record that they are holding, it also will come down to the number of Pokemon that they have knocked out versus the number of Pokemon that were knocked out themselves. So starting off at for the 16th ranked, with a record of 0-4 and a score of -17, we have the Manchester Magnezones. At ranked number 15th, with a record of 0-4 and a score of -14, are the South Beach Slow Kings. At number 14, with a record of 1-3 and a score of -7, we have the Grand Canyon Greninjas. At number 13, also with a record of 1-3 and a score of -6, we have the Toronto Togekiss. At number 12, with a record of 2-2 and a score of -6, goes to the Carolina Keldios. At number 11, with a record of 1-3 and a score of -3, we have the New York Yankees. Number 10, with a record of 2-2 and a score of 0 at the moment, we have the Tulsa Talonflames. At number 9, with a record of 2-2 and a score of +1, we have the Newcastle Nidokings. At number 8, with a record of 2-2 and a score of +2, we have the Bristol City Blazekins. Up next at number 7, also with a record of 2-2 and a score of +2, we have the Pittsburgh Pichus. At number 6, again with another ranking or record of 2-2 and a score of +2, we have the Philadelphia for Alligators. The only reason I put Philadelphia ahead of Bristol City and Pittsburgh is because they had the win this week, whereas the other two teams did not have a win. At number 5, we have the St. Louis Rampardos with a record of 3-1 and a score of +4. At number 4, we have the Long Island Reggie Rockies with a record of 1-3 and a score of +5. At number 3, we have the Durham Druttiguns with a record of 3-1 and a score of +9. At number 2, we have the Bronx Bearticks with a 4-0 record and a score of +9. And then finally, with a 4-0 record and a score of +10, we have the Tucson Terrakions. Now, those are the review for Week 4. I will be back next Tuesday with another review, and again, a review of all the matches as well as another ranking. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comment section who you are rooting for in this season. Of course, going into this next week, there were 2 different Pokemon that were traded out. I believe it was the Mega Beedrill that was originally on the Pittsburgh Pichus side going to the Tulsa Talonflames in exchange for Mega Houndoom, and I believe the Manchester Magnezones traded a Xatu for a Lilligant from, I believe it was, I can't remember which team it was off the top of my head. I'll have the trades in the description. If anything, if you wish to keep up with all trades, you can follow the UCL Twitter. I will have them linked in the description below as well. And I will see you all next week. Take care and good night.